Welcome to Purple Easel Spotlight, where we put the spotlight on artists and creatives. My name's Latoya.
And I'm Megan.
And we're both art instructors here at California's largest paint and sip studio, Purple Easel.
I'm so excited, and I just can't hide it. We're doing cats today.
All I know is that we're talking about cats, and I feel like this whole entire episode, I'm not going to hear you. I'm just going to see pictures of cats. I like them, and just look at cats. So hopefully I can get some education into this in my brain.
All right. Well, here we go. So today we're covering Louise Wain, the Cat Man. He was born in 1860 and was a teacher in West London School of Art, where he also attended. After he finally started school at some point, he had a cleft palate, and so his parents didn't even put him into school at all until he was 10.
Oh.
And then, of course, like most artists, wasn't a very good student, blah, 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 blah. Eventually went to art school, where he later taught. And then he became a freelance artist and did illustrations for magazines and newspapers.
Oh, okay.
So from a young age, he was basically given the burden of the care of his family. After his father passed, he took over for taking care of his mother and his sisters at only 20 years old, which sounds like technically you're an adult, but looking back, like, no, you're still a kid.
Oh, yeah.
You're barely out of the woods on that, because that's way too young to take on that much
Responsibility.
Yeah, and he did it wholeheartedly. He even got married to one of his sister's governesses or tutors.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and he was married at 23, which in the Victorian era was unheard of for gentlemen. Like, that's way too young.
Oh, okay.
They married young women when they were older and established. But 23 was
unheard of.
But he marched to his own drummer. Unfortunately, just months after his marriage, his wife was diagnosed with breast cancer. And in an effort to cheer her up in the 3 years that she lived subsequently, he did caricatures of their cat, Peter. Because why wouldn't you? So I had trouble finding work of his, unfortunately. I don't know why, but like all the images I tried to get, it wouldn't let me put them in here. So I'm going to talk about one of his first main works.
Okay.
He didn't intend on publishing any of these drawings of Peter. It was just to cheer up his wife. But he was doing freelance for a magazine, and they're like,
we see your cat.
We want this. We want this. So he created a kitten's Christmas party, which was published and became an overnight sensation.
Of course it is. Yes, cats.
Yeah. Unfortunately, then his wife died just days afterwards. So she did not get to see any of his popularity or success. And it was very sad. So he would go around and sketch people in town, like sit at a cafe or whatever, but he would draw them as cats. So they had all these like everyday activities, and playing cricket and doing all of the English society stuff. And it really, really like was awesome for the people. They were like, we are all about that. We want more cats. And he became hugely popular. He was on postcards. He was on all kinds of different literature posters, like you name it. Everybody knew who he was.
I believe it.
He even did satire. And here you see Winston Churchill as a cat.
Right here?
Yeah. I don't know how you would necessarily know that's Winston, because we think of him with a cigar.
Yeah.
But I think this was before that.
Okay.
But it does expressly say that it's the Honorable Winston Churchill. But that just gives you an idea of some of his political things that he did. And he considered himself quite funny.
Okay.
And not just because of the fact that he was making cats into humans, but because of the content that he
okay. I love this already.
Louise Wain popularized cats to the extent that there was a huge shift in public opinion of felines. At the time, going into it, they were considered more utilitarian. They were used as a method of getting rid of rodents and less as like a cute fuzzy pet that you might want to have until him. So that's fascinating to me.
That makes perfect sense because they were like, I know that from like just history, but then I always wondered like how did at one point did they become like cute? Like not so much like who cares about the killing and then like the plague and all that stuff. And it's like now we love them in there indoors.
I mean the internet basically was born off of cats. So but the cats have been around forever, even in art. Ancient Egyptians. And cats symbolize a bunch of different things for a bunch of different cultures.
Yeah.
So, not so good things.
Yes, true.
But they've always been there.
That is true.
Regrettably, he was a terrible businessman. And he got taken advantage of a lot. And he didn't enforce copyrights. So despite being in Christmas annuals on postcards and illustrating over 100 children's books.
What?
Yeah. He was a household name, but he was poor.
Fame and no money.
So sad. So much so that when his mental health declined, he went from being the eccentric artist to downright abusive and violent towards his sisters. They were living all together. And he was placed in psychiatric care in the paupers ward and declared insane at 63 years old.
Really? Uh-oh.
So things went downhill for him.
I see. Oh.
However, there was a stroke of luck because a journalist happened to find him there at the mental ward and started a campaign to get him better care. And because he was so well loved, the Prime Minister, H.G. Wells, a famous author, all supported the venture, eventually earning him enough money to get placed in Bethlehem Hospital, which is where we get the term Bedlam. Bedlam, like the crazies.
Oh, I did not know.
Yeah. And so that was the better option for him. So I can only imagine what kind of facility prior to.
Yeah.
And of course, like now, there was a huge stigma around mental health. And it just goes to show you how well received he was with his work that they kind of just brushed all that aside and put support behind him.
Yeah.
And there's this great quote from H.G. Wells. He had made the cat his own. He invented a cat style, a cat society, a whole cat world. English cats that do not look and live like Louis Wain cats are ashamed of themselves.
Wow. Oh my God. Dang, my cat at home is like, oh my God, dang. Right?
Oh, sorry.
Right? My bad.
Pop about it for you.
Right?
So while he was in the institution, the nurses actually asked him to help decorate for Christmas. And so he started painting on all of the mirrors.
Oh, okay.
And he painted cats everywhere. And there's so many that are still saved and put in the museum.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Bedlam. Or, sorry, Bethlehem.
Oh, yeah.
Politically the correct way of putting it. So I think that was super cool that, like, he was actually a really good patient. So...
Okay.
I think they probably put him on some sort of medication and some kind of therapy that kind of cooled the violence.
Yeah.
But he is often used as like the poster boy for schizophrenia. And looking back, we don't know if he was actually diagnosed with schizophrenia. And there's argument that what is being portrayed isn't congruent with what we know now. So we're not sure what he had.
Okay.
But these images in particular are seen in psychology books as demonstrating a progression of the decline.
Okay.
And they're referred to as the kaleidoscope cats. And they just get more and more abstract. Like he could not, I don't know if he couldn't see it or he couldn't articulate it to actually look very much like cats. They almost look more like fractals.
Bro, these look like LSD cats.
Well, and there's that. So, well before there was ever the drugs available, he was there. He was doing it. So, he actually inspired psychedelic art when it was revived in the 60s. And you can totally see the influence.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
They just get more and more like shapeless and just, like, forms. And the last one, is there even a cat? I don't know.
Dude, that cat has ascended. That cat has ascended. It is no longer in the 3D realm. It is no longer in a form. It is.
Yes, there you go.
No, a formless
It's
cat.
just the essence of cat at that point. He got transferred to another hospital eventually when they relocated the first one. And you can see the influence on his work. It was much more rural, and there was a cat colony on premises, which I think is super cool. But here we have some landscapes, something other than cats, which when he was first illustrating, he would get commissions to do like, can you do a piece of my estate? And he would do a lot of architecture type stuff or even landscape. And this is just so serene and it's very colorful still, but it gives a totally different feel than the cats.
Yeah, no, this is so beautiful, so colorful, so peaceful.
Yeah, and this is towards the end of his life. He ended up passing at that hospital, but he drew and painted right up to the very end, and I think that's incredible. And then you can see kind of an example of some of the architecture. He never lost those skills. This is a later one, but like look at how beautiful and detailed it is, despite the fact that, you know, he'd pretty much lived his life at that point.
I'm shook.
Yeah. So a lot of references refer to his tragic life. I did not know until doing the research that Benedict Cumberbatch actually portrayed him in a movie. It's The Electric Life of Louis Wain, which I'm going to have to watch now. But I've heard it's fantastic. I don't know how accurate it is, but it wouldn't surprise me, honestly, because just reading what I read, like, he really had a tough time of it.
That is a tough life.
Yeah. But he was so well loved.
Yeah. That's really cool.
Yeah,
even though, you know, the money wasn't there, but it's cool that the town was like, he was so loved that the town was like, we got to help this guy. We got to do something for him. He has helped us so much just with the cats and us seeing, we love the cats. We got to help him.
Yeah. Just people appreciated his art that much. And it just goes to show you that something you're doing for funsies or, you know, a doodle to cheer somebody up, could be your breakthrough. And look at where he ended up. We're talking about him now on Spotlight. So,
yeah.
I mean, if that's not the epitome of all art,
I
don't know what it is.
Yeah, good point.
So the artists we're highlighting is one I found through Inktober.
Okay.
They were actually highlighted by Inktober. I think it was Inktober 52, which is like the year-long version. But they go by Valioart. There's no actual name anywhere that I could find, even on the website. It's just Valioart.
Okay.
So we're going to go with that. And it's a Finnish illustrator.
Okay.
So I'm starting with some work I had to dig to find. some kind of basic, you know, I love this because it has kind of the architecture that we just saw from Louise, and the line work here is super cool.
You know, the one thing I like about it is that it's that cool, shaky, like
it's kind of sketchy.
Yeah.
Super clean, but it's clean. I don't know how to explain it.
Yeah, it's such a vibe.
It is. It is. It's like, I don't care about being precise, but I'm going to give you a clean overall account of what this image is. So then
Look at these cute cats.
we get into the cats.
More cats.
So this is an older style, and by older I mean like 3 years ago.
Okay.
And you can see a lot of that same kind of sketchiness with the UFO, but then you've got these like high contrast, super cute kitties, and just a little bit of like the night sky to give an indicator of place and everything. And I love the composition.
Yeah, the composition, I was just about to say, it's almost like a cross in a way. I see like, and then.
Yeah, and that band of darkness really balances the dark cat. And I think it's extremely interesting that it's all black cats, which signify a lot of things to a lot of people.
Yes.
But honestly, it might just be because they're easier and they make a more compelling composition. I don't know if there's a reason why they're all black cats other than that.
I think it would look best.
Yeah, it does look, it does look good. So then we get into more current version of the same thing. It's the UFO now, and you can see all the extra stuff is stripped down.
Oh.
And it's very high contrast. And I honestly don't know if Inktober this year, if they're doing lino cuts, because it kind of gives that feel.
Oh, you know what?
Because it's so clean and simple.
Is this lino cut?
I don't know. It looks like
It looks like, yeah. Huh.
I looked through all the like hashtags to see if there was any indicator. Nothing expressly says it is, but it really looks like it.
Yes.
It really does.
It does. And it's cute. There's more swirly cats. And then it's, so what's on top of the UFO is a cat. So it's like going back to, it's like the mothership, you know?
Yes, exactly. And you know, these cats, the shape of them is barely cat. It's just the eyes and a little bit of ear.
Yeah.
It reminds me of Liechtenstein in the sense like, okay, these two dots are a nose.
Yeah.
Who reads that one?
Yeah, no, we definitely could read that they're cats.
Yeah, it's just so cool to me how stripped down it is. And I love seeing the juxtaposition of like the evolution of style.
I
the
see. Okay.
previous UFO and the current UFO.
Right, you're right. I like the mohawk cat. Look, it's the mohawks. It's a mohawk, but they're cats.
They're cats. How do you use cats in so many different ways? Like, it's mind-boggling to me. I had such a hard time picking images because I wanted to put everything up here.
You know, okay.
So good.
Yes. Okay. So, yes, 1,000%. Okay, so the cat that's peeing the cat, is that like a cat rug? Look, it's a cat rug.
It's cats on cats on cats. It's like the Norman Rockwell portrait of him doing.
Oh, yeah.
But it's cats.
Nice. And then they're pepperonis.
Pepperoni.
And then you have like scent. Yeah.
And just that, like, if you look at the coffee cup one and the white lines amidst this kind of otherwise black blob, that just gives it enough definition. I like how do you think like that?
I know, I literally would never have thought of that. Oh my gosh, you're so adorable.
I just make cats into everything. It's so great.
Look at the antidepressants, they're little pills. Like cats are pills. They're little pills.
And then we get into the whole, you know, a pet as a mental health
yes, that's true.
I guess, you know, something to help you, give you company.
Yes.
And then, of course, we have our psychedelic cat, which I had to include because it totally makes me think of some late Louise work.
Yep.
Look at the eyes. Look closely at the eyes.
Oh, it's two cats. Where did I cat?
It's cats on cats on cats.
It is cats. Oh my gosh.
But that totally looks like lino cut too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. These last few are dead.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. I just love the simplicity, like the strong contrast. Yeah. They've definitely found their niche.
Oh, yeah. Oh, sure.
And built a world on cats.
These, I can easily just get these as stickers. Like,
oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And put them everywhere.
Yeah.
On the laptop, on the telephone pole, like just.
Or even like, yeah, I can see this as just like you're just driving and you know how like you see stickers like on the street or whatever, like this is on there. I can just easily, this is so accessible.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
And you know, again, that love for cats and society and the acceptance and like there's cat people, right?
Yeah.
We would know.
Right.
But they're just so cute.
Of course, how can you not like cats?
I know, right? What's wrong with you people who don't like cats? Come on.
Right? Get with it. I am happy because everyone loves me.
So this is what I wanted to use for our discussion today.
Ooh.
This is actually a Louise Wain piece, as you can see by the signature. And I don't know the context. Is it the cat who's happy because everybody loves him?
Or is it him?
Or is it him? And that's what I want to talk about. How much do you need validation as an artist to consider yourself successful or happy or to continue pursuing your art?
So my answer to that is, it depends on the person. But for me personally, here at Purple Easel, we have Yelp reviews. And the Yelp reviews are lovely and they're super duper nice and cool beans. However, when a person gives me the compliment like face to face, that means more to me and my body than it does more like a public viewing. So we can kind of translate that to like Instagram likes and stuff like that. They're nice. It's nice. But when people tell me something like more personal, or is it something that's more personal, like, oh man, like you've changed the way I've thought about this, or like, like there's a story attached to it, it's more meaningful to me than getting like reviews or like a bunch of Instagram or like a bunch of followers and stuff like that. So
yeah, I mean, there's the dopamine hit, right? When you get your likes, you're like, all right, I'm doing something right. But when somebody takes the time to pull you aside face to face, that is way more personal because you're not just behind a screen. You know exactly who's giving you the feedback. I'm not like, oh, I think maybe it was that person that was in that. Even I don't know. But yeah, when people tell you, it makes you feel really good, which is awesome. But I don't think that should preclude you from continuing to create if you're not getting that feedback.
Oh, yes. No, so back in our days, the internet existed, right? We didn't have all that fancy. This is back in like the MySpace, like Friends 30 days. And nobody was posting their art on those things. Those weren't like...
art or Zanga.
Yeah. Yeah, right? Pretty much. So there wasn't a lot of ways for us, like, who weren't on, like, TV. And I say TV just because, like, YouTube is TV and, like, Instagram is almost like TV now.
Yeah.
So we were on any screens.
Yeah.
So you just had to validate yourself, or your family had to, or your friend.
Art classes, honestly, is what helped me get more confidence, is because my peers were then like, oh, and something you will only experience if you take formal classes is critiquing. And that's a huge part of growing as an artist. And I think it's harder for modern people because if they're looking for stuff on YouTube and learning that way, which is great, they're missing how to take the feedback and how to give the feedback and talk about art. But in a class, we would do a project. They would all go on the wall and we would spend an entire class period discussing everybody's work. What worked for this? What would you like to see different? Why is this so successful? All those things can really help validate you and help you grow. So I try to make it a point when I'm giving feedback, even if it's good feedback, why is it good? The line work in this is really good. The contrast is really good. The composition is on point.
Yeah.
Whatever it is. And I do it here as much as
I was
possible.
about to say that. Yep.
Like, hey, I love your style. Lean into it. Like you're doing a really strong, heavy-handed, chunky thing.
Yes.
Go for it. Don't try to make it look like mine.
You know, the community aspect of it, that's 100% true because we do that here all the time. Okay, so here's one thing I gotta say. When you don't have a community, I feel like anybody can critique your stuff, but they don't know what they're talking about. So it's nicer to have like-minded folks to give you feedback because you know they're speaking from experience or things that they have learned.
Yeah.
You take it a little bit more than when people are like, oh, that's nice, or like, oh, I would have done this. It's like, well, thanks, but do you know what?
Right.
Are you an artist?
Well, and that gives me an example. So there was a guy I was friends with, and he had posted a self-portrait that he'd done. Everybody's like, oh man, I didn't know you drew. This is so good, blah, 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 blah. But he was asking for feedback, right? And all of it was rave reviews, which it was beautiful. But I think I was the only one. I was like, you know what? It's a little bit flat if you push the midtones more. Because you've got your really darks and your really lights, but there's not much in between. It'll really round it out. And he was like, oh my God, thank you. Thank you for giving me something concrete to work with. And I think people are so concerned
with it looking good and
right and not hurting people's feelings. But like, people can't fix things if they don't know they're wrong. And I think we need to kind of embrace that mentality as you're creating as an artist. You have to be able to take feedback. Otherwise, you're not going to improve.
Oh, absolutely.
And that got way off topic from our original question.
Yeah.
But I think it was all very worthy discussion.
Yeah.
Don't rely on other people to make you happy.
Yes.
But surround yourself with people who can give you what you need to grow.
And from all of us here at Purple Easel, thank you so much for tuning in.
Make sure to check out the art of Louise, Wain, and Valioart with the links below.
Join us at purpleeaselplus.com to paint with the world's largest paint and sip studio online.
And if you're in Southern California, make sure to swing by the studio and hang out with us. In the meantime, create more and create often.
Bye. Cats, 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 cats.